Hey guys, welcome back. If you are trying to learn game development right now, you might be confused about where to start. Should you learn Unity? Should you learn Unreal? Should you learn C Sharp first? Should you learn Blender? Should you watch a course? There are so many things to learn that sometimes you spend more time deciding what to learn than actually making a game. I have been learning game development for some time now, and I have made a lot of mistakes along the way. So if I had to start learning game development again from zero, this is exactly how I would do it. And the biggest thing I would change is this: I would stop trying to learn everything before making a game. The first thing I would do is pick one game engine and stick with it. For me, that would be Unity. Not because Unity is the only good engine, but because when you are a beginner, constantly switching between different engines just creates more confusion. Pick one engine, learn the basics, and start making things. You don't need to know everything about the engine before making your first game. In fact, I think you will learn much faster when you actually have a problem to solve. The next thing I would focus on is programming. If you are using Unity, learn C Sharp. But I wouldn't spend months learning C Sharp before even opening Unity. I would learn the basics and immediately use them in a game. Start with variables, if else statements, loops, methods, classes, arrays, and lists. Then slowly move into things like object oriented programming, events, coroutines, and other concepts. The important thing is to learn something and immediately using it. For example, if you learn an if statement, use it to make an enemy attack when the player gets close. If you learn a loop, use it to spawn multiple enemies. That is much easier to understand than just reading code from a tutorial. And talking about tutorials, this is probably one of the biggest mistakes beginners make. I made this mistake too. You watch one tutorial, then another, then another. And after watching 20 tutorials, you feel like you know game development. Then you open Unity and suddenly you don't know what to do. The problem is that watching someone make a game is very different from making one yourself. So instead of spending all your time watching tutorials, use this cycle: learn, build, get stuck, search, fix, and continue. Getting stuck is actually a part of learning. And when you are starting, don't try to make your dream game. If your dream game is an open world multiplayer RPG with amazing graphics, please don't start there. Start small. Make a simple platformer, an endless runner, a small shooter, a basic puzzle game, or even a simple boss fight. The goal of your first game isn't to make something amazing. The goal is to finish something. Because finishing a small game teaches you much more than having 10 unfinished projects. And while you are following tutorials, don't just copy everything exactly. Following tutorials is completely fine when you are starting. But out following a tutorial, try changing something. If the tutorial makes one enemy, you make two. If it creates one attack, add another attack. If it creates a basic UI, you design your own UI. Basically, take the idea and make it yours. That is when you start understanding what you are actually doing. And this is where I personally learned the most, making my own projects. While learning Unity, I have worked on different projects, and every project taught me something different. I have worked on player movement, cameras, enemies, AI, animations, UI, boss fights, and a lot of other things. And almost every project gave me some problem that I had to solve. Sometimes the player wouldn't move correctly, sometimes the enemy moved weirdly, and sometimes I would get an error that I had absolutely no idea about. But every time I fixed one of those problems, I learned something. That is why I think your projects are basically your teachers. And one skill that becomes really important when you start making your own projects is debugging. You don't need to memorize every Unity function. You need to learn how to solve problems. When something doesn't work, don't immediately think I don't know how to do this. Instead, ask yourself, why isn't this working? Read the error, look at the line where the error happened. Try to understand what error is telling you. Search for your problem, try a solution, test it. And if it does not work, try something else. Game development has a lot of problem solving, so learning how to debug is just as important as learning how to code. Another thing I would do differently is not spend too much time worrying about graphics in the beginning. When you are learning, your game doesn't need to look amazing. Use simple assets, use Unity's basic shapes, use free assets if you need them. Focus on making the gameplay work first, because a beautiful game that isn't fun to play is still not a good game. Once the gameplay works, then start improving the visuals, animations, effects, sounds, and UI. And probably the most important thing is to actually finish a game. Even if it is small, add a menu, add the gameplay, add a win condition, add a lose condition, fix the major bugs, and some sound and effects. Build the game and actually let someone play it. Because when you finish a game, you learn about things that tutorials don't always teach you. You learn about testing, optimization, UI, build settings, bugs, publishing, and eventually you learn what it is like to actually release something. And that is also why I think you shouldn't wait until you feel ready. You will probably never feel completely ready. You will always think, I need to learn one more thing. I need to improve my programming. I need better graphics. I need to make the game better. But at some point, you just need to build something and put it out there. It might not be perfect. Your first game might actually be terrible. And that is completely normal. Your second game will probably be better. And your third game will probably be better than your second. That is how you improve. So if I had to start learning game development again, my roadmap will be really simple. Pick one engine, learn the basics programming concepts, make small games, use tutorials when you need them, but don't depend on them completely. Start making your own projects, learn how to debug and solve problems, and most importantly, finish and publish a game. You don't need to know everything before you start. You just need to start. You are going to make bad games, you are going to get errors, you are going to get stuck. You are probably going to break your project at some point. But that is actually how you learn. So if you are learning game development, let me know in the comments what you are currently working on. I would genuinely like to see what other people are making. And if you found this video useful, just stay tuned to our channel and I will see you in the next video.